Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Ohio State Buckeyes on an absolute heater on the recruiting trail, landing another commitment coming from the transfer portal and five-star quarterback Julian Sayin. Now for Ohio State, this will count as a transfer portal addition, but he's coming in as a true freshman, obviously committed to Alabama in that 2024 class, hit the portal when Nick Saban left. And this is a massive pickup for Ohio State, which now has two of the top quarterbacks in that 2024 class in Julian Sayin and Aaron Nolan coming into this Ohio State quarterback room. And Ohio State fans know as much as anybody, it's never a bad problem to have a talented quarterback room with a ton of arms that can get it done. And Julian Sayin is one of the more polished quarterbacks that we've seen come out of the high school ranks. You take a look at what he did as a senior in high school, a 75% completion percentage, 24 touchdowns to 1 interception, went 9-1 in California at the high school level. This guy is an extremely polished quarterback. He's a winner. And just because we're talking about him being extremely polished, he is dripping with arm talent as well. Want to get into Julian Sayin, take a look at the film, talk a little bit about what he brings to this Ohio State quarterback room. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys and a shout out to the Ohio State fans. I mean, this has been a program that you just land Caleb Downs, you bring in Quinshaw Judkins, Will Howard. It has been a blast to break down these commitments for Ohio State the last couple of weeks, and you guys continue to show a ton of love to the boys. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into Julian Sayin. And I'll start with this. I'm not a big proponent of true freshman quarterbacks playing early, and I largely like to see them get that 1 year to get acclimated to the college football level. But if there was a quarterback in the 2024 class that I would say probably could play early for Ohio State, it would be Julian Sayin. He's the number one quarterback according to most services, and largely for a reason, right? Extremely polished. He's a phenomenal processor, great pocket presence. We're going to turn on the film in just a little bit, but this is a guy that just seems like he's in so much control of the offense at the high school level, and that is often rare, right? You have a lot of quarterbacks that have the arm talent, but haven't necessarily put it together from a processing and pocket presence standpoint. I mean, Julian Sayin, he really has it largely put together, and he's going to come into this Ohio State quarterback room and be an immediate guy that can kind of impact and provide competition to that quarterback room that is now, absolutely loaded, right? You have Devin Brown and Will Howard, kind of the veteran guys, Lincoln Conholes, Aaron Nolan. Now you add Julian Sayin, you have Tavian St. Clair coming in the 2025 class. You look at the quarterback runway for Ohio State over the next couple of years, and it's the best problem to have in college football, a loaded quarterback room with a ton of competition that, quite frankly, last year was maybe not as much of competition as you wanted in that Ohio State quarterback room. And Ryan Day turns around and goes out and brings in Will Howard, and then goes out and brings Julian Sayin, the number one quarterback in the 2024 class, a quarterback room that gets a lot better with Julian Sayin. And I want to take us to the Julian Sayin film because he is, truly one of the more fun quarterbacks to watch. And the first thing you're going to see is the processing, the pocket presence, stepping up, realizing nothing's there, extending the play, and then you see the arm talent. Just dropping an absolute seed with some touch, right? You see a lot of quarterbacks, they can rip it in there. Can they throw it? Can they layer it and throw it with some touch? And Julian Sayin on the run, flick of the wrist, really just drops it in the bucket there. And then you're going to see him just kind of really just throwing right out to the boundary. And this is a throw that I think a lot of college football fans take for granted, throwing to the boundary on a rope, right in stride. You see him kind of step up in the pocket here, find the soft spot in the zone, throw with some anticipation, and get it right out in stride to his wide receiver. There's really not much Julian Sayin does not do well. Steps up into the pocket, another frozen rope over the middle of the field. You see how comfortable he is working the middle of the field. And you want to go back to this play again, how important it is to hit your wide receivers in stride, giving them a chance to extend after the play, right on his chest. It takes it to the house. You look at Julian Sayin and you talk about what he brings. I think the biggest thing that he brings is, how much of a processor and just how much control he has of the offense. And here you go with something that Ohio State fans desperately wanted to see last year. What happens when it's not there? Do you have a quarterback that can make kind of wine out of water, so to speak, make nothing something? And Julian Sayin, he's not necessarily the biggest athlete ever, but he's a guy that this is a throw. And going back to my point, Julian Sayin, phenomenal athlete, can extend plays. Layering this football over that, but underneath the safety, like this is a throw it's just silly. I mean, this is a guy that he has the arm talent, but I think he puts the arm talent together with really just elite processing. Another really well layered throw, a guy that, I mean, he seems so much in control of the offense. The ball does not get held long. He knows where to go quickly, steps up in the pocket, delivers a strike over the middle of the field. I think he's one of the more fun quarterbacks to watch at the high school level because of how much he understands the sport of football. Now, you take a look at Ohio State in 2024, and essentially, again, Julian Sayin coming in essentially in the 2024 class. This is a class that, yes, you had a few frustrating decommitments. Jordan Lyle, the running back, Justin Scott, obviously flipping to Miami. But you take a look at this class from an offensive skill perspective. I mean, the number one player in the country and truly one of the more special wide receivers we've seen come out of the high school level in Jeremiah Smith. Mylan Graham, who, again, 5-star in his own, doesn't get as much emphasis in this Ohio State class because you have a guy like Jeremiah Smith. You continue to scroll down. You have Aaron Noland, who's a top 5 quarterback in the 2024 class in his own right. James Peoples, coming from Texas, a top 5 running back in the 2024 class. And now you add another top 5 quarterback, widely considered the best quarterback in that 2024 class, in Julian Sayin. Ryan Day doing two things really, really well. One, obviously continuing the success on the high school recruiting trail, right? And we know that in order to win national championships, you got to get the high school recruiting right. And Ryan Day has done that, but what you've seen him do when you scroll down to the transfer portal is add guys that are now kind of enhancing this roster heading into 2024 as well. You're largely looking at one of the top 2024 classes in college football, but you're also looking at one of the top transfer portal classes as well. Obviously, adding a guy like Caleb Downs, Quinshawn Judkins, Seth McLaughlin, who I get people like to make fun of. He is a phenomenal interior offensive lineman. If he gets snapping the ball the right way, he's going to be phenomenal for Ohio State. And if he doesn't, you just play him at guard. You bring in Will Howard to kind of steady out and provide a largely veteran presence in that quarterback room. I mean, Ryan Day, and we've kind of talked about this, moves like bringing in Bill O'Brien, going out and getting Caleb Downs, getting Judkins, getting Julian Sayin. This tells me that Ryan Day is not accepting what happened the last couple of years, and he is looking for every avenue to get this Ohio State program back to the standard that is beating Michigan, winning Big Ten titles, and competing for national championships. And he's leaving no stone unturned in terms of how he is going to do that. And a guy like Julian Sayin, again, I'm not going to come out here and say he's going to be an immediate lock to be a starter in 2024. He's a guy that I think is from a mental perspective and from kind of a command of the offense perspective, a guy that I wouldn't be surprised if you hear his name getting kicked around as getting some reps with the quarterback twos or with the offense with the twos in fall camp. Because this is a guy that I think is really ready to play college football right now. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys again. The quarterback room for Ohio State, absolutely loaded. They continue the momentum on the recruiting trail. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.